In January 1959, the northern ridge of the Ural Mountains offered some of the most unforgiving terrain. Nighttime temperatures in this remote corner of the Soviet Union could drop to -40 degrees. 9 elite hikers walked into this wilderness and never returned. Instead, they left behind a frozen crime scene so bizarre that the Soviet government immediately locked down the area and classified the files. Something out there sent 9 seasoned survival experts running for their lives into a blinding blizzard without their shoes. The group was led by Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old radio engineering student from the Polytechnical Institute. He and his friends were experienced mountaineers, completely in their element in the extreme cold. They were undertaking this expedition to earn their Grade 3 hiking certification. At the time, this was the highest mountaineering qualification in the Soviet Union, requiring them to complete a grueling, high-risk 300-kilometer trek. Recovered diaries and photographs from the trip show a team in excellent spirits. They documented their progress, snapped photos of each other, and wrote cheerfully about the journey ahead. A few days in, one hiker developed severe joint pain and was forced to turn back. That left exactly 9 members of the expedition to continue the ascent toward Kolatsiak, a peak known in the local indigenous language as Dead Mountain. These were disciplined athletes operating exactly as trained, confident in their abilities and their gear. To understand why they died, investigators had to figure out what could possibly break that discipline and drive them out of their shelter. Weeks after the group missed their scheduled return date, a university-led search and rescue party finally reached the slopes of the mountain on February 26. There, they found the hikers' tent collapsed and partially buried under the snow. A closer inspection of the canvas revealed something alarming. The tent had not been torn by the wind or an animal. The fabric had been slashed open with a knife from the inside. The hikers had cut their own way out. Yet inside the shelter, the campsite was undisturbed. Sliced provisions sat on a plate, ready to be eaten. The group's heavy winter coats, survival equipment, and their boots were all left neatly organized inside. Outside, the search party found 9 distinct sets of footprints in the snow, leading down the slope toward a distant line of cedar trees. This schematic maps the precise path of the footprints. They show people moving through the snow in socks or barefoot, yet the stride lengths do not indicate a sprint. The group moved away from the tent at a steady walking pace. Whatever triggered their departure was urgent enough to make them abandon their boots in sub-zero temperatures, but their orderly descent shows they were still moving as a coordinated group, rather than scattering in a panic. Following the tracks to the edge of the woods a mile away, searchers found the first 2 bodies under a large pine tree. They were stripped down to their underwear, lying next to the ash of a makeshift fire. Between that tree and the abandoned tent, 3 more bodies were discovered in the snow. Their positions indicated they were trying to crawl back up the slope to their shelter. Autopsies confirmed all 5 died of severe hypothermia. The remaining 4 members of the group were missing for 2 months. They were finally located in May as the spring thaw began, buried in a ravine under 13 feet of compacted snow. These last 4 bodies showed entirely different causes of death. Medical examiners found massive internal trauma, including multiple broken ribs and fractured skulls. The amount of force required to cause these injuries was compared to the impact of a high-speed car crash. The ravine victims also presented inexplicable soft tissue damage. One hiker was missing part of his facial tissue. Another was completely missing her eyes, her lips, and her tongue. When investigators sent the hikers' clothing for laboratory analysis, the results showed something entirely disconnected from the wilderness. Several garments were contaminated with high levels of beta radiation. The physical force required to shatter their bones, combined with the presence of radioactive material, eliminated the possibility that this was a straightforward case of hikers freezing to death in a winter storm. In 2021, scientists from Switzerland and Russia published a comprehensive computer model to explain the disaster, pointing to a highly localized event known as a slab avalanche. This animation illustrates the mechanics of a slab avalanche. Instead of a massive cloud of loose powder wiping out a hillside, a stiff block of snow breaks off as a single cohesive unit directly above the campsite. As the rigid block slides over the tent, its immense weight transfers kinetic energy into anyone sleeping inside. This focused impact acts like a blunt instrument, capable of crushing ribs and fracturing skulls without leaving a massive debris pile. While the slab mechanics align with the blunt force trauma found on the bodies in the ravine, the Avalanche model stops there. It offers no explanation for the radioactive clothing, nor does it account for the missing soft tissue on the victims' faces. Environmental theories can model the weather and the snowpack, but they consistently fail to account for the crime scene's most extreme forensic evidence. During the height of the Cold War, the remote wilderness of the Ural Mountains doubled as a prime testing ground for experimental Soviet military technology. This detail supports the parachute mine theory. These specific munitions are deployed from the air and designed to explode before they actually hit the ground. When the weapon detonates in midair, the resulting shockwave projects downward. This rapid pressure change causes massive internal crushing injuries to anyone caught underneath, shattering bones without leaving external shrapnel or puncture wounds. That night, local witnesses and other hiking groups in the region reported seeing glowing orange orbs moving through the sky. At the time, the Soviet Union was frequently launching R-7 missiles and testing rockets across this mountain corridor, which often produced similar atmospheric lights. As soon as these details began to emerge, KGB agents took control of the investigation. The criminal case was abruptly closed. The files were buried in secret, and the mountain pass was sealed. Rather than addressing the radiation or the nature of the injuries, the Soviet government issued a final conclusion, stating the hikers were killed by an unknown, compelling natural force. Today, the mountain pass bears Igor Dyatlov's name. Decades of forensic analysis have proposed countless theories about what happened, but the combination of unresolved physical anomalies and a calculated state cover-up ensure